If you're coming to Paris, you will most likely book a river cruise on the Seine. It's one of the most popular activities out here. But there are so many options that it's difficult sometimes to choose. And that's why with this video, we are here to answer all of your questions.
We're Walid and Clara. We've been local guides in Paris for years now. And so we're here to tell you all our best tips on how to choose the best cruise. To do that, we're going to test all of them in one day.
Let's go. In order to assess these cruises, we've created a 4 criteria grid. The first one being the route and the view. What's the itinerary of the cruise? Does it pass the major landmarks? How well can we see them from the different perspectives within the boat? These are really important to us.
Second one, is it easily accessible? That means, is the meeting point easy to find? Are there signs? Are you going to struggle with finding it? Is it going to be a long line to get in? That's the big question.
Then there's the comfort part. Are the seats nice? Is it not too warm? Is there not too much noise? How well do you have an enjoyable experience?
And then finally, are we having fun? Is it a good atmosphere? Is it a good ambience? Is it good commentary from the guide or from the audio guides? We're going to figure that out together.
Voilà, so let's go and find what's the best cruise in Paris. All right, so this is our first cruise, first thing in the morning at 10 a.m. We took the earliest slot and the boat is not that crowded. My understanding is that when you talk to different cruise companies, they say that the morning is not their busiest time. People tend to go around sunset. So the morning is a great opportunity to have a quiet moment.
One thing to note though is there are a few schools in the boat at the moment, but they're quite quiet for the moment, so all good.
It's a very large boat. You have about 600 passengers. So it's one of the largest companies with Batobus on the River Seine. But one thing I like about Bateaux Parisiens is their seating arrangement, because here we are on the top deck and we are facing the monuments, we are facing the view. Whereas in other boats, it's true that you are facing the front of the boat. And so you can have people sitting next to you. You can miss out on some of the monuments. Here, you know that you are seeing everything. Most cruise companies go around the center of Paris, which is the Ile de la Cité, on which is Notre Dame. And then they go around Ile Saint-Louis, and that's usually where they turn around. And at the Eiffel Tower, you have 2 companies that depart from there, Bateaux Parisiens and then Vedettes de Paris. Voilà, alors pro tip, you can only see Notre Dame once during these cruises, and it's on the left side, and you see it very briefly, but it's always great, always beautiful. Clara has her boat license, and so she was training here on the river. What did you learn from that experience, Clara?
Yeah, so you can pass your driver's license for riding boats here in Paris on the Seine River. It takes about an hour of driving, and then the rest is just like theory. And honestly, it's quite interesting. All the signs you have on the bridges, they're here to help for the boats.
Back 2 years ago, there's a ship that hit this part of the bridge and they had to close the bridge to traffic. You can see where they fixed it, but yeah, it happens sometimes. Ships do hit bridges. So we passed by the city hall right here, and they were making commentary in French, Spanish and English, which is quite common for most boats. The only thing is here you can use the commentary on an app, or they have this kind of phone-like things where you can listen to the commentary. I like to have no commentary because I like to look at things on my own and Google them, but it's good to know that you have the option to listen in or not, whereas in other boats that we'll do today, you will see that there's no option, you have to listen to the commentary.
So you see some boats, they have a counter where you can buy food and everything. Here, you only have those at your disposal. It's enough for kids that want a little snack or a bottle of water, but you'll see others, it might be different. Today, there's one boat that we're not trying, and that's Batobus. The reason for that is that we don't have enough time in the day, but also it's the cheapest, but also the less quality you can get. So we thought, okay, let's just focus on the ones we would recommend. And then an extra reason we're not doing Batobus, it's mostly groups. You'll see it's filled with buses, it's a lot of school trips, it's a lot of big groups, and we don't want you to enjoy that.
So you see, for this shooting, we brought Lou with us. And you see her face, she's not happy because she went to the restroom. And she said, well, there's a restroom on the boat, that's great. The cleanliness, it's another thing. Merci, bonne journée.
Merci. Bonne journée.
Merci.
We are 10 minutes late. All right, that was great. Time for a review. So when it comes to the route and the view, I think it deserves a 5 out of 5 stars. I mean, the Eiffel Tower, we had a great view. You could see most of the main highlights of Paris, and you had different viewpoints. So I think for me, that's a top perfect rating.
Okay, and then easy to find. There's a lot of signs all over. You have to go downstairs from the Eiffel Tower, but it's rather all right. So I would say 4 out of 5, honestly.
Then when it comes to the comfort, so the seating was okay. You had all the amenities that you could want, but because the toilets were quite dirty and because I can imagine that when the boat is full of people, it can be not as comfortable as the experience we had first thing in the morning, I would give it a 3 out of 5.
And then finally, the atmosphere, the ambience, honestly, it's quite good. Like, you don't have people telling you on the mic what's happening, what you're seeing. You get all the audio, all the commentary on the audio, so that's a bit more peaceful. We also had the 10 a.m., so it's a less crowded, a bit of a better ambience, despite the kids. So overall, 4 out of 5.
So overall, it was a great experience, and now we are on to the next.
Ah, donc demi-tour avant le Pont Neuf, c'est ça?
We are now on the boat Vedettes de Paris, and here the capacity compared to Bateaux Parisiens is half. It's about 250 people, so 100 people upstairs on the upper deck and 150 down here. So that's something to consider if you don't like large crowds. I mean, it's still 250 people, but it's more intimate, the boat is smaller, and they were the first ones to try and have electric boats. So this is fully electric, so it means no smell from the gas, and it's quiet.
So the whole thing about this boat is that it's a bit more high-end. So you pay slightly more, but that means you're gonna get a cup of champagne, you're gonna be able to be less crowded. Their whole thing is the fact that you're paying slightly more, but for a nicer experience.
Voilà, so you can go outside in the front, on the side, and in the upper deck, and in the back. So that gives you a lot of options. Little pro tip, in Paris there is a wind blowing from west to east. And so take that into account when you are on the boat, because when you are facing west, you get the wind full face. So during summer it's okay, but during winter it gets so cold. So I like to go inside on the way back towards the Eiffel Tower. Another thing to consider when you book these cruises is that sometimes the water level is not the same throughout the year, so you can have floods. And in those cases, well, some boats cannot pass under the bridges of Paris. And so they have to either change the itinerary. So like today, for instance, our itinerary is changed. We are going to see the Statue of Liberty and not Notre Dame. And also on some occasions, they will cancel it altogether, but that mostly affects dining cruises. So as you know, the Statue of Liberty was designed by a French sculptor, and it was offered to the US for the 100th anniversary of their revolution. And for the 100th anniversary of our revolution, the French community in the United States offered a version of it, smaller version of course, but it's really cool to think that we have it, and from this angle you can see it with the Eiffel Tower. So this time, how was the restroom trip, Lou?
Perfect and very clean. So
Voilà, much cleaner.
Okay, so our rating for this cruise is gonna be first for the route and the view, 5 out of 5. It's exactly the same as the previous one, so nothing else to say. You're gonna get the same experience.
Well, when it comes to the ease and accessibility to the boat, we found it even easier than Bateaux Parisiens, so that's a 5 out of 5 also.
Now for the comfort, I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5, and that's only because the chairs might not be as nice as something else, but overall, it's a very premium experience. So really for the food, for the blankets, for everything else, it really deserves 4 out of 5.
Yes, you can really see that they want to give you a very upscale experience or premium experience to compare to other cruises. And so for the last piece, the atmosphere, we give it a 4 out of 5, but that's because it's us. We don't like to have too much commentary. It was commentary non-stop, so I guess for tourists or first-timers, it's perfect. But let's say you didn't have much choice but to listen to it, and we always like to have choice. So overall, this was the best experience so far. I mean, we've only done 2 cruises, and we are going to the next one, which is Batobus. We are now on Batobus, which was developed as an idea of hop on, hop off. It's more like a taxi, so the idea is that you have a pass for 24 hours or 48 hours. So it's a little different from the previous cruises we did. Let's see if it stands out. All right, so very basic, not very comfortable.
I'm not even touching the floor.
So you have one boat coming at every stop every 15 to 20 minutes, depends. And what I don't really like, to be honest, about this boat is that it gets really warm. Like right now it's okay in terms of temperature, but during the summer it gets really, really warm.
As you can see, there's not that many people inside, but it's very loud. Like the boat, you barely can listen to each other. It's not as comfortable as I would have imagined.
And on this one, there are no toilets, so Lou is very disappointed.
Here we're in a lower scale kind of cruises. So you see another vending machine, that's all you're gonna get in terms of food. Okay, this one I'm not really sure about. It really gave me a headache, honestly.
Yeah, but before we go on to the reviewing part, you have to know that we are Dayin, a tour company based in Paris. So if you like this type of content, hit the subscribe button, follow us, because we love our city and we share tips, advice, recommendation, and lots of history.
Okay, so for this one, the route. Honestly, the concept is great because it's hop on, hop off, so you get to see a lot of things on the way. I would say, honestly, 5 out of 5.
When it comes to the ease and accessibility, well, it's quite easy to find. It was seamless to enter. You have an app or the website where you can have the time when the boat is coming, so it's quite easy. We would also give 5 out of 5.
Now, the comfort. Honestly, the noise, the seats, I'm not even touching the ground when I'm sitting on them. Honestly, it was a terrible experience. You're not going there to enjoy the time on the boat. You're really hoping to get to the next stop and then just hop off. So 1 out of 5.
And also it was, when it comes to the atmosphere, really warm inside because the glass acts almost like a greenhouse. So it's really, really hot, really warm. You have the smell of the fuel. I didn't like that, plus the noise. Overall, we give it a 1 out of 5 too.
So yeah, in general, maybe skip this one.
I think if they had a newer boat, it would be a nice idea, but with that boat, we wouldn't recommend it.
On to the next.
As we were already a little bit late after the first 3 cruises, we had to take our lunch on the 4th boat, which is Canauxrama. And as the guide's explanations were quite loud in our ears,
So before going into the tunnel, I want you to look behind us on the left and on the right.
we preferred to comment the first part of this cruise in post-production.
As soon as you start the cruise, you'll pass through the locks, and that's a moment surprisingly fascinating for everyone. The boat enters, the gate closes, and the water level falls to move you to the next section. It gives you a real appreciation of the engineering behind the canal. I actually did my boat license years ago and had to handle the locks myself, so seeing it brings back memories.
Then comes the underground section, a 2-kilometer tunnel built under Napoleon III's order, primarily for political reasons. You see the canal's bank were a stronghold for Parisian workers repeatedly used as barricades during the revolutionary uprisings, and by burying it and building the boulevard Richard Lenoir on top, he simply removed the problem. And when I saw that tunnel, it was my first time, I thought it reminds me of the movie Mission Impossible was shot down here.
Okay, after this, let's go back to the cruise.
Alright, so how was the restroom this time, Lou?
Well, maybe the soap dispenser is to revise, but the rest is nice.
Okay, it's Lou approved. We are very lucky because there's a temporary exhibition on the Pont Neuf at the moment, so it's all covered by an artist. It looks black and white, it's called The Cavern. It's an artist that did many events like that in Paris, so it's really great that we get to see it. All right, so we are, an hour and a half in this new cruise. The boat is even smaller than Vedettes de Paris. It's about 200 seats on this one. We were surprised there's a good amount of French people. I think it attracts a lot of locals that want to see under the canal. I think that was the most impressive part. So if you have 2 hours to spare, I think it's a nice combo between something very local and then something on the river, which is the classic sites. We also found that the commentary was very complete. There was a lot of information. Alors, we already know the information, so we thought that maybe it was a lot of talking. But if it's again your first time, I think you can enjoy that and learn a lot in that short amount of time.
You can see through the day that we're getting redder and redder on the skin. Prepare some sunscreen. Even though we're going under the canal for about 18 minutes, 20 minutes, the rest of the time you're in the sun. So be ready for a lot of that. Get your water out and get your sunscreen. That's the best.
We are already on the next boat, Vedettes du Pont-Neuf, because Canauxrama and Vedettes du Pont-Neuf belong to the same company, and so they stop and start from the same departure, which is by the bridge Pont-Neuf. What did you think of the Canauxrama cruise?
First of all, I love the route. It's very unique to this boat company. They are the only one doing the canals before, and then that way you get a mix of something unique and then moving on to the classic, which is the Seine River itself, with the Eiffel Tower, with Notre Dame and everything. So overall, for this, it's a 6 out of 5. Honestly, it's so much better.
Yeah, it was really great. We thought that the other itineraries were amazing, but the canal really adds something to it. But that being said, the canal is a little far out, so in terms of ease and accessibility, we only give it a 3 out of 5, because until the boat arrived, we didn't know exactly where was the exact meeting point. And then the onboarding was a little bit messy because people wanted to rush to the upper deck and we didn't have a spot on the upper deck.
So that brings me to the comfort. We would say 4 out of 5 because it was still comfortable, but there was a lot of noise, a lot of music, the commentary for a while. So it was a little struggle, and you don't get the upper deck. It's something you're losing a little bit. So 4 out of 5.
Yeah, for the commentary was good, but it was just a little loud for us. And since it's a 2-hour cruise, that's a little long after a while to have this very loud commentary. But if you are inside, it's okay. The last thing is the atmosphere. We found that the staff was very nice. They had a little bar, the toilets were clean. So on that side, I think it was very friendly. So we give it a 5 out of 5.
And now we're ready for the next one to start.
Exactly.
So you see the interior here, it's one of the best we've seen on every boat. Here you have actual tables where you can sit down. You have a counter where you can order drinks or snacks. And so that's even better. Now, you might be wondering, if we're talking about food, what about dinner cruises? Well, I have to say it might always be worth it because the food is not that great. So if you're looking for combining two experiences in one, that can be the good thing. You do the cruise, you do the dinner in one go if you don't have that much time. Otherwise, stick to the 1 hour like we did today, and that's going to be enough. But let me know if you want us to try some of the dinner cruises in Paris.
So how do you book these cruises? Well, most of them have little shops where you can buy on the spot. But what we do recommend is buy ahead online. It's usually cheaper and it allows you to choose better your timing. And you also have some cruises where you can buy tickets that don't have a time and date. So it's valid for a whole year and that allows you to be more flexible. And that's the case for les Vedettes du Pont Neuf right here. And if you have more questions about Paris, we have made a 25 questions video to prepare your trip, which you will find right here.
So you might be wondering, what's better, day cruise or night cruise? Well, there's different answers. If you like no crowds, go in the morning. That's way less people doing it. If you like the best view, in my opinion, it's a sunset. But that's also what most people booked, so you know it's gonna be packed. And then finally, the night cruise. It's really worth it for the Eiffel Tower sparkling. But then that's the only thing you're gonna see. Otherwise, the rest of the cruise is kind of underwhelming. So here you go. You choose what you want.
All right, last cruise, last toilets, how was it?
Not the best, but it's okay. So I guess 3 out of 5.
Okay, not the worst either. Okay, that's good. Well, good to know, at least there are toilets. We really hope that you enjoyed the video, and if you like it and we get enough likes, next time we will do these little boats, which are much more expensive. So let's do it. All right, so here's our review of the Vedettes du Pont Neuf. For the route and the view, we give it 5 out of 5. It's actually very similar to Bateaux Parisiens or Vedettes de Paris, so you are not missing out on that part.
Is it easy to access? Yes, fully. You're in the most central location in Paris. You're right next to the Louvre, right next to Notre Dame, so it's 5 out of 5.
When it comes to the comfort, we give it only 4 out of 5. The boat we were in was really great. I have nothing bad to say about it in terms of comfort, but we know that they have several boats and the other boats are not as nice because you can only be outside, and when it's sunny or when it's cold, it's not great, whereas this one had a covered area. So given that, I would give 4 out of 5.
And finally, for the atmosphere and the ambience, same. We'll give it 4 out of 5 because it's good, you have live commentary, but again, you don't have the choice of choosing if you want the commentary or not. They do have a few breaks, and then you still hear the loud noise of the boat itself at the back. So for that, average 4 out of 5, which is pretty good.
All right, so this was a long day, but very fun day. It's quite difficult to tell all these cruises apart. That's why I think the ratings are so close together. But we do have favorites. My favorite would be Vedettes de Paris. How about you, Clara?
I think Vedettes du Pont Neuf works well because of the location. You're quite central, you can do something before, something after. But then also I have a special mention for Canauxrama for its uniqueness. They're the only ones taking you under a canal, so that's kind of perfect.
Voilà, so with these 3, you can't really get it wrong if you come to Paris and want to do a cruise. And if you want to learn more about the city of Paris and have more anecdotes or fun things to try, well, follow us on YouTube and on Instagram and on all of our social media, because we are here to do that. All right, see you soon.
Bye.